Welcome to the Grand Shorts, a part of the Grand Podcast. The Grand. My name is Niels Tudor Winter, and I'm the creator, editor, and host of The Grand. The Grand is an independent podcast initiative with the ambition to dig into all corners of the EU R&D funding system on topics of interest for the full EU R&D funding community. This episode is part of my shorts format. It is episode number 13 in my Communication Shorts series. Kasper and I have over 12 episodes discussed, reflected, considered, reconsidered, and laughed a lot. All this to give all you professionals out there working with EU project communication and dissemination every day some critical mass, tips, advice, guidance, and not least, food for thought. In these two final episodes, we ask, how hard can it be? We resume almost everything we covered in the 12 episodes and give some final reflections and advice on how to work with communication strategically and practically. Here in the first half, we settled why communication should not be treated as an afterthought or junior task, but as a core strategic function in EU projects. We underlined the importance of storytelling, consistent messaging, and internal buy-in. And then we encourage you all to consider the real value of professional communication expertise. Please enjoy. The Grand. Welcome to the Grand, the EU funding podcast. And the last communication short series recordings, and we've been talking about this recording. 12 episodes. We've been mentioning the X episode or the final episode, and the paradox is that we've just been spending an hour talking about how we're actually going to attack this last episode. But Kasper, welcome.
Thanks, Niels.
And the most important thing for us in this last batch is to sum up. We've been doing 12 episodes for you guys. We've been doing it within 4 different areas, core areas to deal with. But we wanted to make a sum up where I, as a host, will throw some questions. Maybe not so much my own questions, but we've been working with ChatGPT. Kasper's been working a little bit. The idea is that we sort of have an episode where we take different topics, key headlines that you need to work with when you work with communication in your projects. And then I will be the guy that said, but can't we just use ChatGPT to develop some content, or can we just hire a junior to take the whole strategy? And then, of course, we will unfold through that half provocative approach a conversation about why you need to do a little bit more, because that is the whole point. We've been putting so much effort into this. Kasper.
Yeah,
we've been spending so many hours behind. Even just tonight, we've been sitting and talking for an hour and a half about this. We actually have a lot on our heart. We have a lot at heart about this. We care a lot. I've been developing, and I will throw this at you. I have developed many things on my platform on the Grand.eu. I developed a whole site for the communication series. I developed sub-pages. I developed a lot of things in there. And I want people to go in there and see that and use it, because it's supposed to be something that is useful for everybody out there that sits and works with communication every day, because we know how many you are. We want to help you.
And as I could add that I think it's also been a returning topic in our conversations that we have both met and worked with a lot of bosses or colleagues or whatever who work with EU funding in some sort of way and don't completely appreciate why they need to actually spend resources doing professional communications, if you will. So this is also sort of born out of that dilemma, because obviously for a lot of EU funding agencies or small offices in Brussels or small research groups, what have you, I mean, that would be a significant cost, really, to try to hire professional help. So why can't I do this on my own? So one thing is we've been providing some tools in the previous episodes. Now we also, I think, have a need, both of us, to actually argue why it is important to also, like, what's the difference between doing something yourself and what is it a communications professional can actually do, if that makes any sort of sense. Which I think is in the world of EU funding and fundraising, I think that is a important point to make, basically. But I mean, I kind of interrupted, but I mean, let's take it point by point.
It's just to sum up what we'd actually been doing. So we've been, the first batch we did, it was on how to build a communication strategy. And the next batch we did was on how to sell your project to the media, sketching out how to actually get a channel into the ones that you want to amplify your message. Then we had a batch of episodes on how to get clicks on newsletters. So what do you want to throw in there? How do you write them? How do you prepare them? How do you reach the ones you want to reach with the reach? And then finally, we did a batch of episodes on attention on social platforms. And we have 12 episodes. There's a lot of nice content out there. And so what we're going to do now, we're going to run through, we have a list of 9 points, shortly run through them and discuss them with the discourse that we just explained. And some of them will have overlaps with what we did here, and other will be sort of new elements that would be things of attention that you need to be aware of. Well, the whole list will come with now things that would be of attention, but some of them would be things that we have, of course, naturally touched throughout our Odyssey. Odyssey the last month, 6 months. But yeah, so let's.
And also Odyssey, what a way to communicate, calling this an Odyssey, Niels. I think we're already warming up here. I think this is going to be good.
No. Well, so let's start looking at the first one I have here. It's related to expertise in messaging.
Yeah.
Why do smart people often struggle to explain what they do? Does that make sense, that question?
You could, I think the answer would revolve around this, a certain curse of knowledge, I would say. Being smart can sometimes prohibit you from communicating properly. If you're a researcher, I mean, there's a couple of points here. You're used to writing in a certain way, thinking in a certain way. The most important content and outlet you have are your papers, etc. And they need to be. They have a genre of their own. They are one piece. They are a genre of communication in themselves. I'm going to go back to a point I made in one of the first episodes. Like, try using that language to explain what it is you do on an everyday basis to your grandmother, and you'll be sure to lose her within 2 seconds. And I think you already know that, if you're being honest to yourself, right? The reason why it's a curse is because it's satisfactory for someone to be smart and to know smart words, big words, academic words, that is not necessarily very good when you need to get your message across in a wider public sense.
This is a square root issue with everything related to how to communicate about EU R&D funded projects.
Yeah.
To be able to explain that in a way that is something that the general public understands. So often smart people are involved in new projects, right? The researchers, they are R&D leads in big industrial companies, or they are startups that are soaked into a specific niche area of innovation. And the people that can do that can step out of that and communicate that into a broader sense so everybody understands, those are the ones a lot of people know, because they can do that. They are people that are brilliant within the area, but they're also public. They can work with that, but it's not something that it's very easy to do, and that's why there's so few of them. So it's a curse, the curse of knowledge, that that if you're soaked into something, normally not very very good at shaping it for general public.
I think we had some pretty good examples in the first few episodes, so go back and listen to that, I would say also.
Yeah, I'll put a link to the site I mentioned here. All the episodes, they're gathered in one place, so you can go in there and check them out. So that would be in the top of the site, the first episodes. Yeah. Then the next I have here, that's strategic planning, and that was also something we dealt with in the first round of conversation. Now, and this is what we have been circling around in our conversations, that manages a lot in the Brussels bubble, but probably also throughout Europe in, I don't know, innovation clusters, so communication. Let's hire a junior employee, and then they will write the newsletters. They will run the SoMe. This is about respect, right? Or lack of respect for what it is, or not understanding in full what actually needs to be done in relation to doing strategic planning and doing. You understand?
I understand. I don't think I don't personally, as a communications professional, feel offended by the fact that people don't hire people like me, because that's just a matter of priority. However, I obviously do think they're still making a mistake, but that's a long discussion. The thing is, I think, of course, what is research? This could get philosophical, and I apologize for that in advance.
This is a highbrow podcast. You can be philosophical.
This is the episode where we get to drink red wine, smoke weed, and just say whatever comes to our minds. No, I think, what is research without impact? I mean, I know you do have the free science. You do have the base grants, all that, and everything, and impact science obviously needs to stand on the shoulders of that. But I mean, in the end, you're trying to do society a favor by doing research. You are not doing society a proper favor if you don't disseminate that, like, that favor that you did. If you don't, I mean, you need to tell someone you need to tell a lot of people why it's important. And in order to do that, you can't just write a paper, because I mean, all your colleagues will understand it, but nobody else.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, that was me trying to get something very abstract down to 2 sentences.
Yeah, well, I guess the point here, if we sort of, for the EU projects part, you would say that take it seriously. Don't just put it in a corner in relation to the project. Also, if you're a partner that is doing where communication is not the key part of what you do, the key part of what you do, give it a shot to make it proper. Because if the better, it doesn't take that much effort. If you plan strategically yourself around, okay, I'm a partner at this project, this is important for us for innovation strategy that we do this, why don't we not just focus on the responsibilities that we have towards the communication and dissemination work package lead in this project? Why don't we take it seriously enough in the organization, in our communication team, proper, understand, in our communication strategy to make something properly out of this, and then maybe twisting it around, instead of just thinking of it as a responsibility towards a specific project in a corner, make it a priority within the organization as such, as you would normally do with things you do with strategic decisions or things you carry out in the organization. Wouldn't that be the answer to?
It would, because also, and this leads me directly to my second point, which is about consistency. Because in an organization, if everybody has some sort of idea about the importance of how you look on the outside, then, and you have very strategic, you have like a solid strategy, communication strategy, maybe even someone to like a professional, like a communications professional, to actually help implement it, then you'll also have a pretty good idea for everybody in the organization to do the same thing. Tell it, like, speak the same message, use the same logo, just to be very practical. The thing is, if you don't speak with one voice, even though it's like 50 different people who speak, then even like the best, most substantial, gonna save the world projects will look messy on the outside.
Yeah, that's a pity.
Yeah, because it takes attention away from all the goods.
Yes.
So if things look like a mess, people are gonna think they are a mess.
The thing is, the project might be fantastic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what does it help if it doesn't come out?
They might earn their money, they might get some patents out of it. They might have researchers that do licenses, that do nice things, that develop cure against cancer. That's probably going to be in the media. But
fix the climate crisis,
it helps everybody. Yourself as an organization, your partners that you're doing this, but also for everybody else, that you actually shout out over the rooftops in a proper, like, what's going on? Yeah, what fantastic things you're doing there. It's
if fusion energy in a few years solves all our reaches a scaling point where it solves all our energy problems, what does it help if nobody believes in it? Like, if nobody wants to buy it or distribute it, or because the project that, like the research project that actually brought it from, like, say, experiment to full scale, whatever, what do I know? If that looks like something that had scandals along the way or messy somehow, like, how do you get investors to actually distribute the energy or invest in the companies that do, or etc.? So, I mean, if it looks organized, it looks consistent from the beginning, you might have a better chance of actually breaching the attention wall of the general public, I guess.
Yeah. Next point, media relations knowledge. Now, this is related. This is something that we discussed about how do the media actually works, right? And what journalists they need.
There are 3 full episodes on this.
Yeah. So the devil's advocate would, of course, say, but why is it so important to get into media?
Because they either represent the general public or and communicate to the general public.
If the project is a niche thing, that why should you use the efforts to get into some media that it don't even stand a chance?
Yeah, that would be my next point. Or they communicate to certain, like they communicate very deeply, so to speak, to a certain segment that you're aiming for.
Yes, and that was exactly also what we talked about there. So focus on where you can get an impact. Don't go on national broadcasting.
And once again, why are communication professionals better at doing this? Well, because they know what journalists need. They know how the media work, how busy they are, what a reporter would need in order to give your pitch some attention. How communication professional would think in the same way as a journalist, pitch a story in a way and frame a story in a way where a journalist would think this is relevant to my audience. And that's not just something you do. It is definitely not something you let just a junior consultant or intern do, because they're going to get eaten up and they're never going to reach it's going to sound harsh, but you need training in this. And preferably even being a journalist, because if you've been on the other side of the table, you know exactly what they're thinking. Yeah.
Then we have the audience engagement techniques. We talked a lot about engagement. Why do you need engagement? So engagement, look, why is your project relevant for the surrounding world? If you do something, innovation, research, if you get people to understand and get enthusiastic about what you do, that is something that can put that area that you're working with in a spotlight, that gives it attention of why it's important. So it's not just about politicians giving more research, more resources for a specific research area, or it's about the general public understanding the importance of what you're doing there, to understand why it is important to allocate and invest in innovation and research on a general basis, not just public money, but that companies do and so on, because it makes the world a better place. That's the point. Everybody out there, you that listen to this, you are working with square root to make the world a better place, because you're working within innovation and R&D, and that's something that tries to improve things all the time. And having that message coming through and engaging people in that, what you do. If people don't care what you do,
it's generally about making the audience part of the narrative, like making them feel like they're part of telling the story, taking ownership, learning, like creating network, community, learning from the audience, even inspiring the communicator to communicate something else next time. if you engage people, they might talk about it over dinner, or they might forward your email, your newsletter, but engagement is nothing without relevant content. But that's, once again, let's go. I would recommend listening to our brilliant episodes from earlier.
Yeah, and just what we have here on our rundown here. So engagement is not just to get likes on a post, because
Definitely not.
that is what it often goes into when you sit there and you have KPIs from your manager, from what you do on social media, how many shares do you have, how many this and that, and so. But that's not, if you generate. So what we have here on our talking points, so it's about curiosity, action, and connection. So it's not, of course it can be translated into a like, but a like is also can just come out of someone just scrolling through and then liking, and right, that's not engagement. That's not engagement. Is what we've been trying to do, Casper, with this podcast episodes, that we've been trying to push people to actually have an opinion about specific things that we've been talking about, that we've been pushing with them. I bought bloody mugs. I made a competition. I had things, like we try so many things. This is to push people to step in and be curious. What are they doing with this communication series? What is this? Try to push people to have an opinion or to share with us their ideas, what they do. That's engagement.
Being part of the narrative.
Exactly.
Like, it's like drop of water in a bucket full of water. If you do it right, it will create rings that will eventually fill up the entire bucket, like the surface of the bucket. I know, me and my metaphors, but still, it's like if you actually get people to actually actively take part, like you said, action, curiosity, action, connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
People actually they do they start working for you. They start, like, it could be, like you said, it could be sharing something that you posted on social media, but it could also be mentioning your podcast at a event. Like, listen, I heard this podcast about this guy he did 4 episodes on this topic. Go and listen to that. So if you get somebody to do that, you already maybe got 25 listeners in that whatever town hall, potential listeners, or what do I know?
Oh, that is one thing. Another thing is, if you mention, so when you go to when you go to dinner and you talk about your EU project, yeah,
yeah,
we've all been sitting next to these people at a dinner, right? Yeah, it's the ones that are not the greatest communicators in the world, talk about something that is very difficult to decipher.
yeah.
But be that person that do understand how to, if you manage actually to calibrate all the knowledge about the project you're doing and say, this is why this person should think it's relevant. This person doesn't know anything at all about what to do. This is why this person should know that it's important to transform this biomass from orange shells into cosmetics that doesn't give you allergies. This is what we do. We are working with. It's very technical. We use biotechnology that is at the edge of what is possible. But we really want to push this because we can see that it actually, we can take qualities out of this specific peel, so you don't have to become ill, and our kids don't have to become ill when we give birth to them because it's in our, but whatever, these things. If you manage to make people relate to this, then that's fantastic that the EU is funding this. That sounds like fantastic collaboration, because I'm very worried about these things. I think about this every day, or often I think about this when it's just an example.
But I think you're right.
It's not going to be a short episode.
No, but you're also touching upon now not only engagement but also like the actual messaging, like the language you need to use, etc. Which again we can refer back, I guess, to previous episodes.
Yeah. Content creation skills. And here we'll be fading out of this first half of this episode. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Grant. Remember that if you want to win the mug, it is time to go to LinkedIn and comment. Find this post on my personal LinkedIn profile, share your thoughts, throw a question, or give us feedback. All the Grant episodes have their own site on the Grant website. You'll find the link to the episode site where you listen to your podcast. On the site for this episode, you'll find a link to Kasper's personal LinkedIn site and his communication company. Further, there will be links to the communication series main page. Finally, you'll find the script that we have used so you can follow the examples and the structure of the strategy. Next up is the second half of this final episode, where we have a look at content creation, measuring, training, creativity, and cultural adaptability. We look forward to that. The Grant.